Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today I'm meeting a soccer legend both on and off the field. All I can say is a Champions League winner in 2001. He made a gesture to the national team coach that you just don't do. And he was the first player to get a red card after a second yellow. And that's why I'm wondering, whatever happened to... And now he's here with me, Stefan Effenberg. I'm so excited. We've known each other for over 10 years.
That long already?
Yeah, when I beat your wife in the Celebrity Big Brother finale.
That's right. Yeah, once again, kudos for that.
You have a Champions League title and I won Celebrity Big Brother. Great.
Yeah, exactly.
What's on the agenda today?
Hey, we just finished the preparations for the Doppelpass.
Our expert, our very own Stefan Effenberg.
We're heading to makeup soon, Verton.
Does makeup take long or does the king need more time?
Florian takes longer, but for me it's quick, so you'll have about a minute.
Because you don't like it or because everything is just because I don't need it? Okay, yeah, of course. Then let's go inside and you can tell me you joined a professional club pretty late, right? I read it was at 18.
Well, I signed my professional contract when I was 17.
Yes.
At Borussia Mönchengladbach, I had to spend another year in the youth team.
Well, we'll get to that later, right?
Exactly, and the milk cap straight to the profession.
Of course.
So not that late.
No, some are already with a professional club at 12.
That didn't exist before, right? These youth academies, yeah, where they already bring them in at 12 or 13. Like I said, that didn't exist before. Other scouting events were more important back then, especially in Duisburg at that regional cup tournament I played in.
Exactly. Someone stood there and said, that boy is good.
There was someone standing there that you know too. Among others, that was Jupp Heynckes.
Oh.
Exactly.
Machine.
Back then, coach of Mönchengladbach. There was also a 5-day trial where you had to prove yourself and show your abilities.
Okay. We'll come back to that. Let's go inside. It's cold. How often do you come to Doppelpass?
When there's a tournament coming up, like this year with the World Cup, it's about 40, 45 times. We have the show every Sunday.
It's fun since we arrived early today.
Exactly. If it's just the Bundesliga, no European Championship or World Cup, then you can calculate it, it's about 35, 36 times, because there are 34 match days. You have the first cup round and the cup final, which we also include, and then we're at 36, yeah.
But you being there every time now is still relatively new, right? You used to only be there every now and then.
Yeah, but by now I'm already in my
6th year?
I think, as a regular fixture. Before that, it was really usually every second or third week. But then Sport 1 decided to have a permanent expert. And they chose me, and it's fun. That's the basic requirement.
Yeah, the studio is back there. Right, the fans are already there. How exhausting would it be if I just put you there now? Then they'd all come over, wouldn't they?
Lass uns lieber links gehen.
Okay.
Although it's always very, very pleasant and nice.
We already talked about this earlier. Back then, there were no academies, nothing like that. The scouts would come to training with the 12-year-olds and say, that kid's got something.
Exactly. Back then, you actually had to play these tournaments with your regional association. I played for Hamburg at the time. And the regional associations meet once a year in Duisburg for the Länderpokal, where Schleswig-Holstein, Baden-Württemberg, Bavaria, Berlin, Hesse all come together. And then a big tournament is played there. Back then, all the scouts from the clubs were really there, watching everything. As I said back then, Youth Performance Centers, or NLZ, didn't really exist like they do now. That was only developed, let me think, about 10 years ago, I think. Or 12 years ago it was established.
When did you realize personally that you could actually play a bit better than others?
Look, every player is blessed with talent. Talent is definitely very, very important, but even more important than talent is the will. To work hard, to work even harder, the will to invest more, even beyond regular training. And that's where the difference lies. So if you have two players with equal talent, but I have the greater will, the likelihood that I'll eventually make it to the Bundesliga will be much higher than for someone who relies only on talent. And that's the difference. Like I said, everyone has talent. Let me give you another good example. My brother is a year and a half older, and he had much more talent than I did. But at some point, when you reach a certain age, like 14...
15, then the ladies come into play too.
The girls come into play, the weekend, Friday, we go out, but we have a game on Saturday. Yeah, it's fine. I can handle it. I'll still go out on Friday. And that's where the difference lies.
I feel like I'm your brother. It was the same for me. Yeah, could be.
Could be.
I'll just have 3 mixed drinks so I can still play Saturday.
That won't work. It's really just like you guys with PlayStation or Xbox. We just didn't have that back then. That's a huge difference. That's also a danger for young people today. We had a ball and went outside. We really went outside in all kinds of weather, alone or with friends, and played soccer in front of the house. You can't really do any of that today, or on the sports field, whatever. And that's where it makes a difference, really investing that time, really getting even better and working hard on yourself. I grew up in Hamburg, Ochsenzoll. I don't know if you know it. It used to be the training facility for HSV. Back then, HSV had Manny Kaltz, Felix Magath, Horst Rubisch. It was a world-class team. I used to go there once a week for training, watch the training sessions. Ernst Happel was the coach back then. I watched what they did, how they did it, and then I went home and tried it out for myself.
How old were you then?
That was when I was about 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, around that age. Actually, at that age already, and then I really started to train intensively when I was 12 or 13.
And did you already have the will at that age, like, I want to become a professional? Or did you just think, yeah?
I would say that was my dream. For me, it was of course important that I played for Hamburg's regional association team back then. I was the captain of the team. We went to Duisburg and we won this tournament. Winning this tournament with Hamburg is about the same as if Augsburg became German champions. So, completely, we were totally
underdogs.
And yet we always somehow managed to prevail against the really big ones, Bavaria, Hesse, Lower Saxony. We made it to the final and even won the final as well. And back then, Jupp Heynckes and Wolf Werner were there as well, watching. And after that, they invited me to a tryout.
Were any people you'd later cross paths with already at the event?
Yes, they were. What actually mattered to me at that moment, right after we won, was really the announcement of who would be invited to the next training session of the youth national team. And then the names were read out, and there were, I think, 5 or 6 players from our team. But my name wasn't called, and that was a really, really bitter disappointment. Bertie Vogts was partly responsible back then. As I mentioned, 5 or 6 names were read, and everyone reacted positively.
Oh, no.
But mine wasn't. And then, that was really a hard disappointment, and also not a pleasant ride back from Duisburg to Hamburg at that time. And then, I think only 2 days passed, and the phone rang at our place. My mother said, "There's a Mr. Wolf Werner on the phone." Back then, Jupp Heynckes' assistant coach. From Borussia Mönchengladbach. I went downstairs as asked. 4 days remained. There were no cell phones back then.
I wonder where they got the number from.
They get it through the Hamburg training program.
It's all stored there?
Obviously. Yes, we would like to invite you next week for a 5-day tryout, from Monday to Friday. Arrival is on Sunday. And on Monday morning at 10 o'clock we start training, with the pros. And of course, that was my chance, the chance of my life. Back then, I was 16 and a half.
Were you aware of that?
I was aware of that.
Yeah?
I knew that. I wouldn't call it a problem, but there were 5 others from different state associations. One from Baden-Württemberg, one from Bavaria. I think there was even one from Lower Saxony. And then they brought together 5 players around my age, give or take, for this week-long trial at Borussia Mönchengladbach. We trained there Monday and Tuesday with the pros. Boom, boom, boom. And on Friday after the last session. Yeah. And then all 5 of us were actually sitting on a couch. In the back were Grashoff, the then president, Jupp Heynckes as coach, and Wolf Werner as assistant coach. On Tuesday, the first 2 said, "Oh, let's go to the old town Mönchengladbach." Yeah, you're laughing. And that's exactly the point. That evening, they visited the old town. I didn't know. I said I was going to my room to sleep. I'm done. I'm already looking forward to tomorrow. So, on Thursday, the next 2. "Oh, we're going to the old town today." Well, they didn't say anything about a party. Who's coming along? Me again. No, no way. I'm staying here. I'm going to sleep. And maybe those were the little things, too, that the other four didn't get a professional contract. I was the last one to be called. They said, you're getting a 4-year contract at Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Wow, just like that? 4 years?
I think 2 weeks later, Helmut Grasshoff came up to Hamburg to see us with the contract. I had to sign in the presence of my parents because I wasn't of legal age yet. Then the contract was signed.
How was it structured?
8 minutes, Deutsche Mark.
Yes.
Of course, Deutsche Mark. That was 1985.
85?
Exactly. I can say that even today. I can talk about it. 25,000 marks a year.
Oh, I would have said...
Per month, but it's per year. And then you can break it down if you play with bonuses or whatever. There was always a bit of a bonus. That was the amount of my first contract as a professional back then.
So then it was time for you to move from Hamburg to Mönchengladbach. Exactly. Is it like today that the young player arrives, here you have an apartment, here you have a contact person from the club, and we sort out your address registration and even get you a car so you can get to training?
No, none of that. Back then, we had someone at Borussia Mönchengladbach we could turn to. That was Aunt Titi, actually. That was the name of the good old lady. She was part of the fabric of Borussia Mönchengladbach. And she took in young players at her house who had the chance to become professionals. So, on average, we always had 2 or 3 players. Some of them were amateur players or even myself who had a place to sleep there. And I did that for a year, while I was still playing on Borussia Mönchengladbach's under-19 team, as I mentioned. But then I decided to leave there so I could shape my own life. Because otherwise, you have to follow certain rules. Don't get me wrong. For example, set meal times at 6 p.m. Sometimes after training, you're not hungry. Having that freedom was really important to me, so I moved out and got my own apartment.
Then the first years at Gladbach were successful.
Yes.
You got a professional contract right after your under 19 years. That's right. How long did it last?
4 years.
Another 4 years as well? No?
No, the contract was 4 years. One part was for the youth side, and then there was this 4-year professional deal I'd already signed. The condition was playing for the youth team. The condition was to finish my training.
What did you train as?
Actually, at the German Federal Post Office. And that was Grasshoff's condition for me to even be allowed to sign this contract.
That's commendable, though. So to say, learn something first. Exactly. And at the German Federal Post Office, which is called DHL Post nowadays. I have a DHL in the country. If you ever want, you can stop by to accept and deliver packages and manage letters and stamps.
No, it was already the Federal Post Office. Of course, you know you already have a professional contract in your pocket. Do you now have the motivation to really go through this training with passion? No, that wasn't it, but of course I had to somehow manage it, because my professional contract only started after that. That was the condition, that I finish the training but also pass it, so that I have some security in case something happens. There are many young players who don't make it.
They break down.
They never come back. Then at least I have this piece of paper where I can say, okay, I can fall back on that.
That's great, because nowadays you often notice, sure, young people get a lot more support. But if it doesn't work out, it means, Stefan, now you're out, you're on your own. And having something solid in your hand was good. 4 years at Gladbach. It went well. And after the exams, you said the foals were quite nice.
Yes. No, I didn't even complete the 4 years. I became a regular player pretty quickly. So the first half year, I think I was just training with them, but didn't get any playing time. And then one day, the big moment came when I was thrown in, and they saw in the Bundesliga that even under pressure, even in such a stadium, I could handle it and had the composure at such a young age. And then, I think, in my first game, I was substituted in 4 minutes before the end. We won 1-0 against Kaiserslautern. The following week, I was already in the starting lineup, and then I was basically a regular starter all the way through, and if I'm not mistaken, I think after 2 or 3 years with a professional contract at Gladbach, I was bought by Bayern Munich in 1990.
When did you realize things were going well at Gladbach?
Actually, already in the youth team, I have to say, in the under-18s, because I felt comfortable at the club. In the whole environment, the pros weren't always nice to me, of course, but they weren't mean either. There are many other cases where, as a player, you have no chance because they're just too different. And that's when I realized, if things keep going like this and I keep feeling so comfortable here, when I come into the locker room for training, well, I wasn't just sitting somewhere in the corner while the established guys were over here. They always took me under their wing.
Okay, that's important.
Exactly.
Did you do that later as well?
I did that, really, and that's very, very important. That's sometimes called having a feel for people. You know, someone comes in at 18, maybe a bit insecure. No, give him a hand and help him along the way. And that's what they did. That's why I felt so comfortable, too.
Then it was Gladbach. The transfer fee came from Bayern.
Exactly.
Several million marks, which back then, I think if you account for inflation.
No idea, yeah.
I think that would be great now. Not sure, though.
But the good thing, or what I mean by good, for me back then was actually that Jupp Heynckes, who brought me to Gladbach and watched me and said, "This player has talent. He could become a really great player." Went to FC Bayern as coach a year before me. And of course, he then said, "I'll keep an eye on the development of Stefan Effenberg." Wow, that's a good development. I'll bring him to Bayern Munich now. So Jupp Heynckes was actually the first important, decisive mentor for me to take my first steps.
Incredible for you and so many others. So Heynckes really made a huge impact on you.
Definitely.
What year are we talking about now?
We're talking about 88-89, then the switch in 89-90 to Gladbach, and then in 90 to FC Bayern.
For the first time.
Exactly.
Then came a less successful season at Bayern.
Exactly. The first one was still successful, I would say. We were unlucky to lose the semi-final in what was then the European Cup, but we only became runners-up. That's not enough for Munich standards, you know.
Hertha fans would agree to that right away.
Of course, I would agree with that too, obviously. The second one really wasn't good. There's no excuse for it. It was just bad.
It happens.
No one, yeah. If you play in the Bundesliga and you're in the public eye, you do not dwell on it. It can happen. Tomorrow is a new day. It was a difficult year. There was a period of change. And then I had the opportunity. And back then, Italy was the land of dreams for players. Just like the Premier League is today.
It used to be Italy?
Rudi Völler, Ike Hässler, Matthias Sammer, Kohler, Reuter.
Klinsen.
They all took this step before me, and I said, that's my wish. That's where I have to go. And I did that in 1992.
You played with Gabriel Batistuta.
Batistuta was my striker, yes, exactly.
What was he like? Sorry, I'm a huge fan. For me, Argentina, everyone talks about Messi and Maradona, but Batistuta also defined an era.
Glad he's on your radar. Most people don't notice him. An incredible striker, physically unbelievably strong, not even that tall, maybe a bit shorter than me, but also amazing in the air, outstanding shooting technique. I don't want to compare him to anyone. He was truly one of the top strikers I've ever played with in my entire career. Awesome. And then in 1994, I decided, even though I was always a regular starter, that I needed something new. So I went back to Gladbach again.
When you look at all your career stops, Florence, Gladbach, Bayern, you could even add Wolfsburg, where are the fans most grateful for what you've achieved?
I think in Gladbach and at Bayern Munich, because of the successes we had or the times we managed to save Gladbach.
That time fighting against relegation?
I think there's a sense of gratitude, right? The gratitude is really, really strong. And at Bayern Munich, of course, because of the successes we had there, especially after winning the Champions League again after 25 years, there's a really great sense of gratitude, yes.
I think you need to head to makeup soon.
Come with me and then we'll continue talking about it.
Because you've achieved something legendary. You never brag about being the first Bundesliga player to get a red card for a second yellow after the new rule was introduced.
That's true, but what's even more important right now is the information I just received. Wolfsburg is letting go of the coach. Hecking is taking over. Bauer is out. Hecking is taking over.
But everyone expected Magath, right?
There's always speculation. They always throw in 23 or 34 names. Understood. That just came up. I need to step back for a moment. Let's review the preliminary talks again. Is this your room here? This is our room. This is where we meet. All the guests who are here today, Roman Weidenfeller. Then we always have one or two journalists on the panel, usually from the region of the club or clubs we're talking about. Because, of course, they always have background information and so on. That's always important.
What's the top topic today? Wolfsburg or Bayern?
Wolfsburg is already becoming a big topic, obviously now also because of the coach's dismissal just now. Will that already be a major topic? We'll talk about Dortmund, because we have Roman with us as well. There's a Dortmund connection. We have Thomas Dahl here too, with a Dortmund background and HSV. Those are the main topics.
Now I have 3 quick questions. Is Neuer retiring?
National team or Bayern?
He's out of the national team, injured at Bayern, and his contract is ending. Will he go through this again or just say no?
I think he'll extend for another year to keep guiding Erbig, to keep training with him, and to give Erbig more playing time next year. But Neuer should, must, and will also extend for another year.
And the World Cup or not?
For me, as of today, yes.
Andrich, World Cup or not?
For me, as of today, rather not. Wallermarth is having a bit of trouble right now. He's in a slump, and he has to fight his way back at Newcastle.
Yeah?
Perform well, then definitely.
But would you take him now, as of now? If the World Cup started tomorrow and you had to choose between the 3, who would you take? Who wouldn't you?
They're different positions. So Wallermarth, you have to take him with you, obviously, because we don't have a real number 9 in that sense.
Yeah.
I'd also take Under, since he's earned it with his performance and stats. With Andrich, I think we have other solutions, other options as of today. But like I said, there's still a long way to go.
It's still okay. Good. Then let's go to makeup and get ourselves ready. Do you need a lot of filler now, or is it fine? Just a little, Stefan. Stefan, we were talking earlier, you went back to Borussia Mönchengladbach from Florence.
Exactly.
You were there again, and actually history repeated itself. You were there and had a solid time?
Yeah, it was really, really good.
Yeah, right, in the first season, 5th place, and then 4th.
Cup victory.
Yeah, was that your... Oh, right, that was your first title.
Exactly. Back home. Well, I did win a Super Cup at some point. Yeah, actually coming back, Mönchengladbach, where I started, then winning the Cup, that was really something special, you know, I mean, they had waited 25 years too.
And then I have to say, you come back at the wildest time ever, and it was a time I really experienced firsthand. Yeah. Did you come back to Bayern in 98 or 99?
98.
And you play, or Ganswein plays an amazing season, and then comes the legendary Champions League final against Manchester United.
Yes.
How was it? How did you experience it?
Not nice. You know, when you're leading in the final, you should have been up 2 or 3 to 0. We had the chances for that. And then you concede 2 goals within, I think, 80 seconds. That's, of course, unbelievable pain, above all. Then I think you lose the cup final a week or 2 later, right?
But there's a story, the final was in Barcelona, right? And then you still had to go to why do you have to go to doping control when you lose, I wonder?
Yeah, that's a given.
Yeah, but why don't they just say because he lost?
No. Well, if you look at it that way, yeah. Okay, but those are the rules.
Yeah.
You can't get out of that.
And you had to go there that day?
On that day, at night, after the game or in the evening. And that was pretty tough. Yeah. Because you're basically sitting in the locker room with the 2 Manchester United players. And some of them, of course, had tears in their eyes, while the others had tears of joy.
Yes. Do you talk to each other there? No.
No. It's kept a bit separate, but you can still feel it, yeah.
A nightmare, right?
That's a nightmare.
But your book says you made a promise to yourself then?
Yes. We made ourselves a promise, you know, that we can't fall apart now. But we have to get up, process it, and come back. You know, we were only put together a year before with a new coach. Saleh Hamidze joined, I joined, Linka joined, Jens Jeremy's joined.
The coaching staff?
Yes, with Ottmar Hitzfeld, with Michael Henke, it was all put together, and that means in turn that you have 3 or 4 years. During this time, you have to win something, or something big, and our goal was the Champions League.
But then you really took off 3 championships in a row, which is already very impressive, and a lot of trophies. Do you have duplicates at home? I probably have a championship plate, a DFB Pokal, and the Champions League trophy.
Yes. Am I done? It's taking so long today.
Almost like...
Especially for me today.
Was it faster with the mask or Manchester United's 2 goals? Well, I think the goals were faster. Does it still hurt?
This doesn't hurt here. The other one hurt a lot.
Is it still hurting or is it over now?
No, you really need to have leaders in your team like back then with Oliver Kahn. Or myself. Someone who lifts the team up again and gets them to follow. And like I said, it was the first year with 2 tough setbacks, but still doing everything to bring that trophy to Munich. That was my soccer World Cup, so to speak. And that was always my drive, and that's also a motivation.
Now I have 2 questions. A, you were always the leader, always the one who leads from the front. Did you want to be that, or did you sometimes think, oh?
No, I actually wanted that. Let me go back to the beginning of our conversation, to the Hamburg representative team, where I was already the captain. I played for Victoria Hamburg in the league. I was the captain. I was actually always given this responsibility by the coach, because he's the one who decides.
Yeah.
Because he recognizes that I'm strong in character and able to help lead a team as well. Well, actually, at all my clubs, I was always the captain, and I wanted that too. I never felt like I was at the bottom.
Okay, that's already important. Then, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was unfortunately that frustrating Champions League final that hurt, and you also played in a European Championship final, right?
Yes, that was in '92.
92, the one where Denmark was called up later and then, of course, made football history. Very good. It was also very likable, you have to say. Very good. I used to celebrate a lot too, until I learned they actually beat us in the final.
Yeah, as I said, Yugoslavia was excluded back then. Denmark moved up, more or less gathered the guys from their vacation. Like, are you up for it? Do you have time? And actually, everyone said the final would be Netherlands versus Germany. Germany, you know. Because we were the best. But things changed. We faced Denmark in the final because they beat the Netherlands in a penalty shootout. Then everyone wondered only by how much Germany would win.
Ah, that's always tough, yeah.
That's crap. That's shitty of you. You've got to keep some suspense.
Yeah, you know...
And you can't let something like that get to you if you lose it. Then we've also lost the game. That was also a defeat that really hurt a lot. But I always say, and it's really true in soccer, you always learn more from defeats if you're willing to analyze them than from victories. If you go from victory to victory. Just like Bayern right now, who basically win everything, there's always the danger at the end when a high-quality opponent comes along that you'll get beaten because you lose a bit of your focus. Sometimes you can manage with 80 or 90%, but that doesn't truly work.
That leads us to the point, and what you said makes sense. At Bayern, you already had 2 of 3 straight championships before the next Champions League final against Valencia.
Exactly.
First, when you hear Valencia as an opponent today, you think it's easy, but back then, Valencia was on a whole different level.
Absolutely. Actually, before every season or Champions League season, the question was always, will Real Madrid make it? Manchester United, who were also very good back then, Bayern Munich, or maybe Barcelona. Those were the top 4. Exactly. And suddenly, Valencia made it. And then in the semifinals, they beat Real Madrid, won both games against Man United and Real Madrid, who had Raul up front, Guti, for example.
Also, and...
Yeah, Roberto Carlos.
What was he like? Sorry, for me it was...
He was more likable on the field, I have to be honest. Very likable. He was a good friend, or is a good friend, of Giovanni Elber. He, in turn, was on our team, but as a player, of course, absolutely outstanding, yes.
The stuff he pulled off back then, yeah, his shooting power.
Yeah, technique. Shooting power and technique.
Did you ever have to stand in the wall for his shot? Yeah, always.
Always.
Did you already make your will in your head?
No, not that.
In any case, we won those 2 games. Now I'm coming back to...
Valencia. Yeah, if you beat them. I mean, we won all the games on the way to the final. 2-1, 1-0, 2-1, 1-0. That's really the least of our problems now. No, that was actually the biggest problem again, because once again we were the favorites, which wasn't true, since Valencia had been in the final the year before. And a lot of people forget that, don't they?
They also lost the final the previous year.
They lost to Real Madrid.
Yeah, okay.
We wanted to control the game, and we did, but it was a dangerous match.
Yes.
It was dangerous.
And it was also... Well, you couldn't have made it more exciting. I still remember the penalties. I've always supported Bayern since I was a kid. Of course, you're a Bayern fan. As a Hertha fan, I've grown to appreciate Bayern for the 5-year ranking. It's really important. Otherwise, things would be even tougher for us. And then I still remember, which penalty did you take?
The game was only made up of penalties.
So,
a penalty is given against us after 2 minutes. Mendieta scores it. After 7 minutes, we get a penalty. Shaw misses. In the 49th minute, we get another penalty, which I then score.
Did you want to take another one, or did you say no?
No, no player would do that. No, maybe he would do that in a friendly match or something, but not in a game like this. That's why it was clear, so everything was reset to 0, end of the game, extra time.
It was intentional, you take the new one, I mean, you go in with a certain mindset, yeah.
Yeah, I was already very, very confident.
Aimed or just a wild shot?
No, aimed and controlled the Valencia end there, which is now uncomfortable for the shooter.
But motivated, I mean, it's a difference if you just stand there and say no.
No, you have to turn that off. So, back in the game, now the question in overtime was, do we take more risks or go back to more control? We decided to keep control but not take any risks. And that's how it went to the penalty shootout. The crucial thing there was the choice. Which side do we shoot at? Do we get the Bayern side or do we get the Valencia side?
Yes.
That was my decision with Mendieta, who was the captain of Valencia back then. I won the toss, and of course I chose the Bayern side. Having them behind us and facing our own fans was invaluable, because that's when the game turned around.
And then, which one did you take?
The fifth one.
The fifth one?
The best ones are always put on 1 and 5, the best shooters. You don't put them on 2, 3, or 4, but 1 to be safe or 5 to finish it off for the decision. I was on 5 after 5, it was a tie. And then I remember, then did you score it? Again, the same. You know, did you already know during the run-up? With the second one, I knew which side, but I also knew that Canizares would probably go that way, so it was all about having good technique and enough power. I managed to do that, and then it was a tie, and then after 5, the shooters come up. Actually, not really.
Those who withdrew earlier during the verbal, yes?
Or maybe not immediately, but that's okay. That's still the case today. That hasn't changed. And then I had a few doubts. But when someone like Lizarazu or Linky took the penalty kicks, I still tip my hat to them today. Because I never saw that in training. I never saw them take a shot, not even to try or practice in training. Or whatever, never. And they dared to do it, I have to say. That was really impressive. And of course, Oliver Kay with his yes.
Like you once, I still remember how you once shouted across half the field like, you'll save this one now, and I think that was the one. And then you finally had the trophy.
Yes, that's then, well, not just me, so yes.
But today we're here, I'm here today because of you.
And to bring the trophy back to Munich after a quarter of a century, that was such a relief, I think, for the city. For everyone.
Yeah, the after party. How much do you still remember?
The after party, yeah. I still remember some of it. The next day we went back to Munich, and it was an amazing reception with perfect weather. I think, don't quote me on this, but there were about 500,000, maybe 700,000 people.
700,000, just think about that.
On the way from the airport to downtown, 700,000 people accompanied us.
Yes.
What wasn't so nice for us, actually, was that I think we had to fly to New York a day or a day and a half after our arrival in Munich, because we had a game that had already been arranged a year before. You win the Champions League final, then just 2 days later, you're required to go to New York for a quick exhibition match.
Do you remember how you won or played? I think...
2-2.
Okay, that didn't matter anyway.
That's okay. But it was just exhausting. You know, actually, it could have been different. Come on. Let's just celebrate together for 4 or 5 days now. We didn't have that opportunity, but those are memories and a story we've written, which is beautiful.
And then you left Bayern again. Why didn't your Panker bring you back the third time when he was coach again? He still said, come on, Stefan.
Well, you know, I was 34 then, so... He had to slowly start thinking, which path should I take again? Are you really still able to handle the strain playing 3 games a week? And I decided against that, played again in Wolfsburg, and then went to Qatar again. To wind down as well. And that's how I ended my career when I was 36 or 35 years old.
Would you do it all the same way again?
Yes.
I once heard that you probably made really good money during that time, so do you still do this now just for fun and to stay involved in the sport?
I do it primarily because I really enjoy it, because it's a great team, and because obviously the sport will be a part of my life forever. And if I can contribute something or be a part of it, then it makes me proud. On the one hand, it's a great activity, as I said, and we're talking about something that's in my blood.
That's true, and here's a fun fact. You enjoy puzzles.
I like to do puzzles.
That's right. Okay, well then let's start the show now. show's over. Did you have fun?
Yes, absolutely. It was a good discussion, and we covered good topics.
Okay.
A lot of Gladbach fans, which always makes me happy. No, it was a really good discussion overall.
We've actually already talked about everything. Your Champions League victory, then you trained it off in Qatar. Back then it had already been a while. How long do you think Saudi and everything around it will last?
With the league?
Yeah, with the league and everything around it, no?
It's getting bigger. It's getting even bigger. What's already over there now, even the 2 or 3 25-year-olds are coming over, so this league is not going to go under. I'm absolutely sure about that.
Ever get calls asking if you want to coach?
No.
Could you imagine that, coaching over there again and bringing on Ronaldo, Benzema? Come on, here, go ahead.
No. Definitely not as a coach. I also don't like to look ahead in these things or wish for anything. I have a fulfilled life. I feel great and really comfortable today, so I honestly don't have those dreams.
Wow, okay, let's discuss 3 things that interest me. Once, I don't know if you like talking about it, but you were caught with a blood alcohol level of 0.1 per ml when you were still young and naive, and you got a fine for it. What was the outcome? Do you still remember? First, a fine and all that. Who did you have to report to so you have...
Actually, I didn't have to report at all, because I took the first step and said I made a mistake there, and that was accepted. Then there was a fine. I think it was, I believe, 10,000 euros back then. But that was the standard at Bayern Munich for fines. What's important is that when something like that happens, you really step forward and apologize for it.
Okay, with the national team, you also had quite a turbulent career, the middle finger incident.
Yes.
Who was it for back then? Some say the fans, some say the coach.
No, definitely not the coach, and definitely not the team either, because we always had a good relationship. It was simply from the stands, where the whistles came from, directed at me personally, and that was my reaction to it, but it wasn't directed at anyone personally.
Okay, did you often regret it or just think no?
Yes. It was like that. Not at that moment, I have to say, and not a day or a week later either. But at some point you say, I think I missed out on 60 or 70 international matches. But that's how life is in the end. 2 clubs benefited from it. First, Gladbach, because I didn't have the extra workload anymore, and then Bayern Munich. I believe that the titles I won with Bayern Munich, I might not have won if I had kept taking part in those big tournaments and competitions.
You were a professional at a time when newspapers were everything. You have to say, a lot of people claim Victoria and David Beckham were the first celebrity couple, but that's not true at all. What you and Claudia did, every little thing was in the Bild newspaper. How did you deal with it back then, and how much did it bother you? People always kind of had the feeling that, in the end, you didn't care.
Yeah. Well, I don't even bother with that kind of thing anymore.
Because you've checked it off in your mind? Totally.
Totally. I'm only dealing with it now because you're asking me about it. In the end, it's not good, because you have to focus on one thing that's important to you. And in the end, that's your career. And that's not the tabloids or whatever. And it was just too much at the time. But it's also a part of our life, our story. It's part of it. But I'm glad that it's quiet now.
How long have you two been together? You must have experienced everything as a couple. Even ups and downs that no other relationship goes through, but you're still together. Come on, I've been married for 3 years. Give me 1 or 2 tips.
Yeah, I've been married for 21 years. 2 tips. Talk things out when something comes up, otherwise give each other space. For both sides, yeah. And actually always be willing to listen. So does that sound complicated?
No, it sounds so simple, but sometimes it's the simple things, like you said at the beginning of our conversation, that's one thing, but the ambition, and I always wonder why I didn't become a professional. Yeah, after training, I don't want to go to the locker room, go home and watch TV.
Yeah, but I think, look, if we go back to relationships or what kind of advice, I think, how old are you now?
I'm 36 now, my soccer career would already be over.
We'll skip your soccer career, since it probably wouldn't have worked out or led anywhere.
Yeah, already in the first team at Hertha.
But if you fast forward or skip ahead 2 decades now, which, by the way, at my age, really is something. And maybe it doesn't sound stupid, but it's a certain life experience, and then you just become a bit calmer, more controlled. That does me good, too. You'll experience that as well. Believe me. In 20 years.
Then we'll do the next interview.
I'm sure you won't do that anymore either.
Let's wait and see. I'm very curious about what my future will look like. I don't know myself, but I hope I was able to clarify for you today what I actually do.